Hey there, hello there. It's Jeff Cutter Doug. Welcome you to another Cutter Top 10 sports video. And today we're going to be on a kind of an NFL kick, if you will. And guess what? We'll start the NFL kick with my Patriots t shirt by announcing the top 10 kickers in NFL history. How about that? So, anyway, kicking game is not as easy as it looks. Yes, field goal kickers can go from 40 to 50 yards nowadays, and which it wasn't really big in the 40s and 50s. But field goals are field goals, and 3 points are 3 points. So, we've had some great ones and some bad kickers. But anyway, we're going to talk about the best kickers of all time. Starting with number 10, and that's Jason Hanson of the Detroit. No, change it. Number 10 is Jason Elam of the Denver Broncos. So Jason Elam kicked for the Denver Broncos from 1993 to 2008. He was a great kicker from the University of Hawaii. You don't really think much about Hawaii players in the NFL. But basically, Jason Elam was a smart kicker. He was a good kicker and may have been the big one that Denver needed. Well, they had David Treadwell, and after Elam came through, Treadwell went to the Giants. But yeah, Jason Elam was a pretty good kicker and all that for the two Super Bowl champions, and he once had a 63-yard field goal. I keep thinking it was in, not in the, I keep thinking it was in the preseason, but yeah, Jason Elam knew how to do the mile high air and do it for himself. Number 9 is Matt Prater. To me, Matt Prater, he has he had the record for longest field goal around, but Prater, used the Denver air. I think he kicked for Baltimore too, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, Matt Prater was a good kicker and all that. He was the heir apparent, if you will, to Jason Elam in Denver, and he did quite well. Number 8 is George Blanda. A lot of you think, well, why am I saying George Blanda? He was a quarterback in the AFL/NFL. He was, but he was also the kicker for Houston in the AFL. Of course, going through the 1960s, watching the stuff in the AFL, uh, George Blanda was the quarterback and the kicker and the punter. So, you had to wear different hats and all that. He was versatile. He was even the kicker for Oakland for a few years. He was the backup quarterback to Daryl LaMonica for the Raiders, and then he was the kicker, if you will. And he had the points record for a long time, and he played in the NFL till he was 46. George Blanda will always be a great bearer, but he is always a good AFL kicker and punter, as well as a good quarterback. Number 7 is Justin Tucker. He does have the most accurate field goal percentage in NFL history, and he has had some great kicks, including that kick against the Detroit Lions on Monday Night Football for the Ravens and making it from 60 plus yards, and that was his seventh field goal of the day, and that actually won me a fantasy matchup because I went with Justin Tucker for kicker. He's got accuracy. He's the one who nailed that double overtime field goal against the Broncos in the AFC divisional round in 2013, and of course the Ravens won the Super Bowl that year. Tucker unfortunately got himself into some legal trouble. That's why he didn't kick last year in the NFL. But you know, we can't let that ruin his legacy. We could. Number 6 is Lou the Toe Groza. We're going old school for number 6. So anyway, Lou the Frig, live pal. Lou the Toe Groza was the main kicker for the Cleveland Browns in the 1940s and 50s. He actually was a tackle, like an offensive tackle, too, because you could play two ways. But yeah, Lou Groza was major on his kick. He was one of the early kicking pioneers, and his massive field goal in 1950 won the Browns the NFL title game against the Los Angeles Rams. So that was just amazing, and all that Groza would do such a thing. And Cleveland owes him a debt of gratitude. I love that autogram. Number 5 is Jan Struderland, one of the first. I think he was the first place kicker in the Hall of Fame, or main kicker. Struderland was a star AFL kicker and a few more years for the Kansas City Chiefs. You had Blanda playing for Houston and Oakland, and you had Struderland for Kansas City. Struderland is famous for his field goal miss in regulation in 1971 on Christmas Day when the Chiefs and Dolphins had played in the AFC divisional round, and he made a massive miss. And I do believe Miami won that game. Yeah, your Premier kicked the winning field goal in the longest game by time in history. But yeah, Sterling was still pretty good and all that. He kicked for New Orleans, Atlanta, and not New Orleans, Green Bay, Minnesota as well. Still, he's always connected to KC. Number 4 is Steven Gostkowski. A little biased because, he's the kicker for the New England Patriots. But yeah, he was a key contributor to the Patriots dynasty. The first dynasty had the number 1 kicker in the thing, but the dynasty of the 2010s had Gostkowski kicking it with the playoff successes. And basically, once the other kicker went to Indianapolis, they got Gostkowski, and it's like it never left. The University of Memphis guy helped out for the Patriots, and it all worked out. Number 3 might be a little controversial to you, me, to some, but it is. It's Gary Anderson. Gary Anderson was known for his consistency and longevity. He kicked for many teams. I know he kicked for Minnesota with one field goal in mind. I kicked for Pittsburgh, I think. Cincy? I don't think so, but yeah. Yeah, Gary Anderson was a longtime kicker in the 1980s from the University of Syracuse. Anderson would go on to better things with Minnesota, having that great season in the 98 season, which he never missed a field goal until the NFC title game, missing the field goal wide left in Minneapolis against the Falcons, which was wide left. And it was indoors. He had no freaking excuse, not like Scott Norwood. But yeah, 10 straight. Yeah, that would have been a 10-point lead for the Vikings and a trip to the Super Bowl against John Elway. Yeah, Elway versus Cunningham. That would have been amazing. Yeah, Gary Anderson will always be baffled by everyone talking about that kick. Number 2 is Morton Anderson. Another Anderson, but with the suffix of S-E-N, not S-O-N. Morton was a Hall of Famer and a consistent leading scorer. In fact, he is the leading scorer in NFL history, if I remember correctly. But yeah, Morton Anderson was known for kicking a lot of field goals and all that. His longevity. He started in 1981 and ended in 2007. He played for the Saints and the Falcons, among others. I think there was a few other teams, but yeah, Morton Anderson brought skating and kicking to the forefront. Yeah, New Orleans and Atlanta, he was the main guys for the kicker for them. And, you know, that's just what happened. And all that. He was a 2 franchise guy. And finally, number 1 is a little biased, I know, but it's true. It's Adam Vinatieri because of his clutch kicking and all that. Vinatieri was picked up from Amsterdam, part of out of Europe. He was part of Northern Iowa. Yes, Kurt Warner's alma mater. And he was the kicker for the Patriots as early as 1996. He wasn't known for many clutch kicks. And then 2002, when the Tuck Rule game happened, it still could have went for shit for the Patriots. I mean, if Vinatieri had missed that field goal through the blinding snow at Foxborough at the end of regulation, then the Tuck Rule game would be basically an asterisk. But somehow, in some way, Vinatieri kicked the field goal through the bars and all that. That field goal was tougher than the overtime one, but yeah, Vinatieri kicked that field goal in overtime. And then when Tom Brady unexpectedly marched the Patriots down the field for Vinatieri to kick a 48-yard field goal with the score tied, he knocked it down the middle. And of course, Lonnie Paxton doing Snow Angels. There was no snow. But Vinatieri was known for his kicks and would actually be the hero in 2004 when the Patriots, down to the final seconds, got down the field for Vinatieri to kick the field goal, and he did. And the Patriots won the Super Bowl. So that's a pretty much good for the kicking game and all that. I know there were other kickers too, like Matt Barr or even his brother Chris or even Myrick Mosley or Pete Gugulak, but not to be. Anyway, I'm just I'm going to do.